Hi, and welcome back. So in the last video, we looked at WordPress configuration. We looked at how to install WordPress, log in, change your password, and potentially update WordPress or any plugins that you might want. In this video, we're going to look at site-specific configuration, things that will make your site unique and distinct from other WordPress websites or other websites more broadly on the internet. We're going to look at things like how to install and uninstall plugins. We'll look at how to change and update your permalinks, or the way that your permalinks are structured, meaning sort of the extension of your website. So currently we have splattivity.com, but what if it was splattivity.com/WordPress lessons? We'll look at how to do that. Next, we'll look at how to install a theme, or sort of think about it, the clothes or visual appearance of your website. Then we'll install a starter template, meaning a framework or a presentation of your theme that can help you get started in customizing your own website. Next, we'll look at this theme style. We'll look at some tweaks and different pieces that we can do to make the template that we're using more distinct. Lastly, we'll look at removing some unnecessary pages or some pages that come with this template that we're going to use, and how you can add additional pages on your own. So if that's interesting to you, stick around. Now, in order to do that, we're going to go to our website, splattivity.com, the example site that we're using now, and we're going to go to WP admin. This is how we, in the last video, learned how to log in. Now, it might take a second, and you can see that the password may be saved. I don't think this is going to be correct. So instead, we'll just do this, and then we'll do the password, which hopefully we'll remember. Otherwise, it'll be super embarrassing. Oh my goodness. It, again, could take a second because it has to talk to the server, essentially where the computer is hosted, or where the site is hosted, rather. And then you'll get into your dashboard. And this should look a little bit familiar from our last lesson, but if it doesn't, don't worry, we can sort of get accommodated again. Now, the first thing we want to do is go to these bars over here in this menu, and we're going to go to plugins. If you just click plugins, it will bring you to the plugin home, which should look like something like this. Now, here you have what are called plugins. And again, we talked about this a little bit, but plugins, think of it as just someone external to your team. So an external developer has developed some code, and that code, whether it be in JavaScript or PHP or CSS or some combination, it's going to add additional functionality to your website. This is nice in that you don't have to code everything yourself. In fact, one of the beautiful things about WordPress is that you don't have to do any coding at all, or potentially you don't. And the thing about plugins is sometimes you can add a lot of plugins and it will actually make your site slower, because think about all of this code or all of these additional functions being added on, and every time you want to load a page, WordPress will have to go and see which bits of code it uses and whatnot. And so sort of a best practice is, if you're not using a plugin, or if you have a plugin that does a similar feature to another plugin, you really only want to keep one of those. You really only want to keep the essential plugins. In this part, we're going to look at sort of deleting plugins and how we might do that. Now, when you install WordPress, there are plugins, there are themes, there are potentially assets or photos, whatever, that come with the default installation of your provider. So again, we're using HostGator, but you might be using something like Bluehost or WP Engine. It doesn't really matter. But you may find yourself, after having installed WordPress, you might find yourself with a bunch of plugins. Now, there are two ways if you want to delete a plugin. You can go and click on that individual plugin, and then you can go to delete, which is great and exciting. Or you could essentially click here, go to bulk actions, and then delete. Now, we're going to do this, and something interesting will happen, or something interesting to me. So first you'll get this prompt, and we'll just hit OK. Because the great thing about a plugin is that whenever you install a plugin, you can also uninstall or you can delete it. And once you delete a plugin, you can usually go ahead and reinstall that if you need to. Previously, we just went and we clicked up here and we went to delete, right? And we hit apply, and we got this prompt. But you'll notice that some of these plugins did not delete. And that's because a plugin has generally two states. It has an active state or a disactive state. And an active state means it's functional on your website, it's applied to your website, and disactive means that it's installed but not being used by the code. The thing is, you cannot delete a plugin that is active. So the first thing we'll have to do is you can, again, come here, click these, and then you can go to disactivate. And it might take a second, maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, might take an eternity. But you'll notice that there's a difference in state between active and disactive, or deactivated, when it's sort of this whitish color here, that means that it's probably non-activated. And then when it's this lightish blue, or lightish blue, at least on my screen, it means that it's active. So again, you can select the unactive plugin and then you can delete that. Now again, we looked at how to select multiple items, and you can do these bulk actions, and you could select something like disactivate. Again, it might take a second load, totally fine. And then we can select them again, and we can go to delete. And this time, after we get this prompt and we hit OK, it should delete the 2 remaining plugins. And it can be a little frightening at first. You're like, oh, did I do something that can't be undone? The answer is potentially, probably not. But the great thing is you can always uninstall your WordPress package and then reinstall it. So a lot of things, particularly when you're first getting started, even if you totally screw up, you can just start from scratch. And that can be really scary when you're first getting started, but it's generally fine. So now when we go to this page of the install plugins, or just click plugins, there should be no plugins. Now, what if you wanted to add a plugin, right? So you would go to add new, or you can go to add new up here. And you could go to something like Updraft. Updraft is a backup software that I and my collaborators often use. And if you want to install that, you would essentially find the one that you want, go to install, and it's going to give you a confirmation page, install, and then you can either activate it here, or you can go back to your install page and you could go to activate. So click this and you could go to activate. Wasn't actually necessary to click this, but I sort of liked it. Next, we're going to go to this idea of permalinks. So permalinks, if the popular example is apple.com, the permalink is this /Mac or /iPhone, and then /iPhone 11. So it's this part right here. Kind of cool if you like iPhones. Now, if we were to have a post and we were to go and preview this, let's go to preview on desktop, preview new tab. You'll notice that the name of our post is Hello World. Again, it super doesn't matter if you fully understand everything, because there's a difference between pages and posts. That's totally fine. We'll discuss that later. But just know that what we want our site to be is we want it to be Splottivity /Hello World. So we want it to be something like this, but it's not going to work because we haven't had it set up. It has a date. So how do we change that? How do we update the structure of our permalinks? So we're going to go back to our dashboard. So we're going to go to the domain name /wp-admin, and that will bring us back to our dashboard. And then we're going to go to the dashboard, and we're going to go menu, and we're going to go to settings. Now, if you're like me and you sort of knew about this, you might actually go to general, and that would be incorrect. So even people like myself who make a living coding websites for other people make a mistake. You would actually go to this permalinks submenu here, and you click on that permalink submenu, and it'll bring you to a page like this. The permalink settings, again, a lot of this is taken care of by WordPress, and this is just sort of a nice presentation that allows us to have some input in how our website looks. Again, if we went back to this example, it's splottivity.com/2020/0818/hello world, which is basically the date and then the name of the post. And you'll note that the day and name is here, but we actually might want it something more like the post name. So we want /sample post. So we'd select that, and we go to save changes. And it might take a sec as per the usual. And now when we go here, it will still have that, but if we go and we go to something like this, /hello world, it will hopefully work. Otherwise, I'll be super embarrassed. It used to look like this, and or rather, it used to look like this, and now it looks like this. And we think that this approach for the permalinks, or the / blah blah blah, is sort of more clean. So we looked at how to uninstall and install, activate and disactivate plugins. We looked at permalinks. Now we're going to look at a theme. again, you would come back to your admin panel, and you could obviously get to it from that page. It's totally fine. You might type in things that don't exist, like I regularly do. But here you have posts, media, pages, comments, appearance, plugins, users, blah, 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 blah. All this you can read. In order to address your themes, you'd go to appearance and then the submenu of themes. You'd click that. And it'll bring you to a page where it shows all of the themes that you have. Now, when you install WordPress, again, depending on your hosting provider, in our case, HostGator, you will often come with specific themes. So if you sort of activate a theme, so currently this one is active, but if you were to activate the theme and then you were to go to something like splotivity.com, the visual appearance is totally different, right? So obviously you could use or customize any of the themes you have now, or you can add a new theme. And what we like to do when we're building new sites is a lot of times we'll use a theme called Astra. So let's go ahead and do that. So you can either come up here and hit the add new button, or there's potentially another way you could do that, but we'll just go to add new. There's a button down here. And then you get this menu, this page, and you have a search bar over here. So you'll notice that these two are already suggested. They may or may not be suggested for you, but we'll just type in Astra and then we'll hit enter. And a lot of times you'll get, if themes have a similar name like Astra and Astral, you'll get those, but you'll just pick the one you want. And you can either preview it like this. Doesn't look super interesting. It's totally fine, but we're going to make it look really cool. So we're just going to have confidence that this theme is going to be worth our time, and we're going to install it. Just like a plugin, you're going to have to install it, a theme, and then you're going to have to activate it. So we'll activate it here on this page. And what was a little bit confusing to me when I was first learning WordPress is I sort of thought that my web page would automatically look like this. So it has this like purple, what we call banner, and that has some photos, and I thought that was going to be really cool. But then you might go to your website and it used to look like this, and now it looks like this. It looks like this, and you're like, oh my goodness, this presentation looks nothing like this presentation. That sucks. That's kind of frustrating, but there's an easy workaround. And one of the easy workarounds is to use a template. So one of the great things about the Astra theme, or the creators of Astra, the Astra theme, is they have these starter templates, and you can get these starter templates by installing a new plugin, which we'll do right now. Again, if you remember, you go to this dashboard and you go to plugins, and you can either go to install plugins or you can go directly to add new. So we'll add one new plugin here. Now, you can ignore some of these messages. So you type in something like Astra Starter or Astra Starter templates, and every once in a while, the creators of Astra, who are also the creators of this plugin that we're going to use, change the name. So the changing the name or the visual appearance is totally fine, but there's sort of a few things that you want to look at. First is you'd want to find the plugin by Brainstormforce, and they're sort of one of the creators of Astra, and so that can be really great. Next, generally you want to look about how many active installs that it has, and that means like how many installations of this plugin are currently active on the different WordPress websites around the world. And then next, you'd want to look at these ratings. Generally, you try to find this template, or this plugin rather, and you click install. Now, again, you're going to have to A, install it, and then B, activate it. It takes a sec. You get this cool little confirmation, and then you can go to activate. And if you were like me in the beginning, once you activate it, you'd think that your site would look really, really amazing. But sadly, there are a couple additional minor steps before you have this really cool looking site. We would just wait. And so it brings you to your install plugins. It gives you confirmation that your plugins has been successfully activated. We'll go here, we'll refresh it, and our site is still gonna not look visually that stunning. And that's totally fine. A lot of web development or WordPress development or just creating your first site, it's about trial and error. A lot of these things you might have to figure out on your own, or you can watch a tutorial like the one you're doing now, and hopefully the instructor will sort of guide you. So we've installed this plugin, we've activated this plugin. Now let's use this plugin. Plugins sort of appear on your menu in different places. The one place that it's going to appear for us is we're going to go to appearance. Appearance. No pun intended. I don't even know if that was one. But then you're going to scroll down to Start Templates. So next we're going to have to pick a page builder. And page builder is essentially a tool that goes on top of WordPress and then helps you build out the individual theme. So think of like WordPress as being like your computer, and the page builder is being like a word editor. So the computer is like the core technology, and then a word editor allows you to create nice looking documents on top of your operating system or on top of your computer. So it's just an additional functionality. Now, any of these I think are fine, but I often choose Elementor for my own professional work. So that's what we'll choose for today. And you click this and it will sort of start to download or install. And then finally, we'll get to the page, which has the different visual choices of what our site could start to look like. And here you'll have a collection of different choices. And don't worry if the order is different or the visual appearance or the names are different. Every once in a while, the creators of Astra will change the different templates available. And there are a couple different things. You can select the type of site you want if you know what type of site you want, or you can type sites that are free or agency. Agency means that you have to pay for a license, so we'll go ahead and click free, which brings us here. And then we'll sort of scroll down and look through the different templates that we might want to select from. One of the ones that I regularly like is this animal welfare page here, or I kind of like this one, or Sierra Nature. So we'll just select a template that you want, and then you have two choices. You can import the complete site or the home page. And so think of it, if we went back to our example for Apple, if Apple was a template, the home page would be apple.com. And then the additional pages would be like /Mac and /iPad and whatnot. So when we go back to our start templates, you would have a whatever your domain name is, so splottivity.com, and then it would be splottivity.com/about, splottivity.com/services/projects/contact. In our case, we're just going to import the complete site. This can take a minute or two, sometimes 10, depending on items like your internet speed and what server and service you're using for hosting and whatnot. Generally, what I like to do is I like to select all these options. And basically, if you've installed a previous site, or if you've already started tinkering with your site, you might want to leave this unchecked. But in our case, we're going to start a clean page. So it's okay to delete the previously existing content. Now, it's installing that plugin, that web page builder, which we chose as Elementor. And then it's going to start, you'll see, activating the plugin, potentially activating and installing additional plugins like the WP form. This you could all do individually, but because it's part of this package of this plugin, it's kind of nice. It can save you a little bit of time. Then it's going to start importing the individual pages, so like the home page and the about page and the service page and the contact page, as well as the visual appearance and the photos and whatnot. So in a few minutes, we should have a really sort of nice looking site to start with, and then we'll start customizing it in a way that we see fit. With that, I'll let this load. It might take a few more minutes. I'll edit the video so you don't have to watch me watch the screen. I'll see you back in a few seconds. All right, so now the site is successfully installed, and we can either exit out or we can click View Site, which we'll choose to do in this video. Now, remember, before when we went to splottivity.com, it looked like this with the Astra site. And now, with a little bit of luck, it will look something like this, right? And this starts to look like a professionally designed site, or at least a site that you sort of would trust in buying or getting more information from someone. Whereas, like, if I go to a website that's splottivity.com and it looks like this, I'm literally going to click off the site immediately. So now our site starts to look like this, but we want to tweak it a little bit. We want to alter it a little bit. And the first thing is there are these additional pages. So there's the about page, the service page, the product page, the contact page, blah, blah, blah. And again, our internet is painfully slow, which is totally fine. Might actually be our server, who knows? But there's about us, it's kind of cool. Our services, projects. But again, you're going to think or have already thought about what different pages you want on your website, sort of what the ultimate goal of your website is. Let's say that we've thought through what splashactivity.com is and we don't want the projects to show up. So if you want to remove an existing page, you would go back to your menu and you would go to the pages item here and you click pages, or if you go to all pages, the sort of the end result would be the same. And it's going to bring you to a individual page like this, and it's going to have all of these specific pages that you have. Now, if you want to delete a page, you could go here and you could go to trash, or you could go to bulk actions, move to trash, and then apply. Now, you go to splashactivity.com, the menu should automatically update, right? Because there's no more projects. So if we were to go to slash, well, actually, if we were to go here and we were to refresh the page, you're going to probably get an error because that page no longer exists. Next, we're going to look at how we would add a page, right? So let's say that you wanted to create a new page. So you would go to add new. You could come in here and let's go back here and let's say that the page was our clients. You go to publish. It's not going to show up. It shouldn't show up in the menu quite yet, but we can quickly adjust that. You'll load the page. Hopefully your internet is faster than mine. And if you wanted to add a page that you have to your menu, pretty straightforward step. What you're going to want to do is you're going to go to WP admin. You're going to go to appearance and then menus. Here you could remove this. So that means that your menu would essentially be a little more clean. You would go to view all and you would go to our clients, add to menu. And if you want to change the order, you can do that and you would just drag and drop and then hit save menu. Now, when we go here, if you go back, you'll see our clients are going to show up in between the services and contact. And if you were to click here, you would go to that new page, which obviously we're going to have to design, but we will do that in a future video. So in any case, that brings us to the conclusion of this site-specific configuration. We looked at plugins, how to install, uninstall, or rather delete, activate, and disactivate. We looked at permalinks of how to do something like splashactivity.com/hello world versus I think it was like 2020 08/16. It was originally like that. We looked at how to install a theme. So we went to our admin, then we went to appearance, which should be there in any moment. We went to appearance, themes, and then we went to add new. So we went to add new up here and we typed in Astra. Like that. Then we went and we activated and unactivated a theme. We talked about that. We then went to the plugins. So we went to plugins. We added a new plugin, which was the Astra starter pack. We activated that. That was pretty fun. Then we went to appearance and a starter template. We sort of talked about the difference between the free and the agency templates, or the ones that you have to pay for. We chose one, we installed it, we uploaded all the content. Next, in this video, we went and we talked about the theme style. We talked about adding and deleting pages. So we went to pages. We selected the pages that we want to add, which again, when you're trying to build internet sites, it's useful to have a fast internet connection. So we went there and we went to trash. However, if you want to add a page, you would go to the add new. And that is a wrap. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section. Otherwise, in our next video, we'll talk about general building tasks. We'll talk about things about like adding a site title and tagline. We'll talk about adding a logo or a favicon, as well as editing your site in specific and customizable ways. So as always, thanks for your time, and we will see you again soon. Cheers.